Hello, everyone. We are back. So today we are going to talk to Jenine Pilla out of Eight Limbs Academy in Philadelphia. Jenine is an accomplished Muay Thai athlete and fighter. She will be on the WAKO team for the year, representing the U.S. over in, I believe it's Italy, but we'll find out soon enough. Today's episode has been brought to you by you can see one of the shirts. You can get 15% off your order. Just put MTG in the promo code. Jenine, you are back.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's okay. So how are you doing today? And can you just very briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
So my name's Jenine Pilla. I'm an amateur Muay Thai fighter out of Eight Limbs Academy in Philadelphia. As you were just saying, I am representing the WAKO team in Italy in October. And yeah, that's who I am.
Awesome. Well, definitely appreciate you coming on today. We're going to be talking about a few things. One of the first things that I wanted to talk to you about is sort of the social media presence of your gym, which is pretty big, I would say. And we've talked in personal conversations before that you've seen a uptick in sort of students coming to class when Kate Catone, one of the owners of the gym, posts more. Why do you think that is, and how do you think that plays into the gym environment?
Yeah, so like you just said, so Kate, who's one of the co-owners of Eight Limbs, does such an amazing job with social media presence.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd imagine when we post on Facebook, especially towards like our students or the students, it kind of like makes this like situation of like maybe like a FOMO. So right now I'm actually in my master's program for public health, and we learn about health behavior, right? I'm going to get real nerdy on you. We learn about health behaviors and how to like promote good healthy behaviors. And there's this concept that we learn about called the nudge concept, where you nudge people to these things. So it's kind of like reminders. And I feel like these Facebook posts that often does also works as like this nudge. So if you're reminded, or you're like, today we're going over teeps, or today we're going over the clinch, and you're just reminded that this is like a content that's something that you like, or like you were maybe on the fence that day of going to the gym or showing up, constantly being like, we're actually doing this, it's like this nudge thing. It's this reminder to get people to come to class. So I found that when Kate posts on Facebook or on Instagram, or just being like, hey, we're going to be doing this today in class, and kind of promoting it, then we definitely see an uptick of people coming in.
And do you feel like you have reflected that in your own social media presence, and what have you learned from that for yourself?
Yeah, so me as a coach, I would often, like, if I'm teaching a class, I'll often be like, jump on our Facebook page or our group page and be like, hey, especially now since I can't teach very often because of my school schedule, I'd be like, I'm dropping in and teaching this class tonight. We're going to be working on Wednesday. Come and hang out with me. But I do regards in like that community setting. And one thing I do try to take from Kate is just an active social media presence, but it is also something I'm very good at.
Yeah.
I'm good at.
Go ahead. Why do you think you're not good at it, and what makes someone good at, a social media presence? How do you define that as well?
That's a really good question, and I think something that's actually kind of hard to answer. So I guess, what makes a good social media presence from somebody who is it's really hard. So Kate's a business owner, and she's trying to get her like business out there. And it also, like, her activity and the gym's activity on social media helps us with opportunities, or so we like, we've shown up to tournaments before and people recognize our gym just from like Kate's presence on Instagram. So I can see that sorry. So like the way I use it is I might not be posting as much like on my actual Instagram page. I use stories a lot. But I guess, yeah, that's something I could take from Kate is having more. Sorry, I got distracted by a comment that popped.
It's okay. We have a fair amount of people on here. Ahmed from Rami's Gym is saying hello. Jenine is a beast. um, so, I mean, what makes you a little hesitant to engage more? Why aren't you doing as much? Is it time? Is it the content? Why do you feel like you don't have more of a presence?
So time for sure,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to posting like content while training. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm on. I'm currently, so I'm in my master's program. I work as a research assistant. I also teach classes in the journalism department at Temple.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have like strength and conditioning, running, Muay Thai training on top of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Not only am I in front of the computer all day for cool stuff, but when I get to the gym, I don't care about my phone. Like I love getting to the gym, putting my phone in my bag, putting it in the back, and being able to disconnect and just focus on training.
Mm-hmm.
The second I try to pull out a phone or try to record myself, I'm pulling away from that focus that I just.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's like a big thing. Time is another big thing, right? So like if I'm thinking about, and this has kind of resonated with me when you were talking with Natalie the other day, is where she was just like, I don't have time. I'm going to outsource somebody to
Mm-hmm.
do content for me, but I'm broke too, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
it helps a lot when somebody like Kate or my coach Charlie like takes a video and posts it, and then I can repost it because that helps me stay focused on my training, not
Mm-hmm.
really myself out of that place that I'm in.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that was also something I was going to bring up. Are there people around you that can help you? Or, I feel like there's two solutions to the problem usually is one, you get outside help, or two, you just like make a time where you commit to doing this. So like you batch your content for the week and then you plan it out. So a lot of times what I will do for content for myself or other people is I will be like, okay, this is an hour of basically shoot time. Okay, go hit the bag, you know, 30 seconds. Okay, there's your bag video for the week. Okay, hit pads. Okay, you just need like 30 seconds or a minute, and then, you do it longer, you can chop it all up for the month and have individual days. So, okay, Monday is bag day, Tuesday is pad work, Wednesday is something personal, Thursday is diet, Friday is strength and conditioning, something like that.
Yeah.
It's helped me a lot in dealing with sort of clients, and then I've seen it work for other people as well.
Yeah, and I feel like if I were to do that, I'd have to bring a change of clothes because I wouldn't want to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can always change your shirt, or also, you need to realize that a lot of people aren't always cognizant of those sorts of things, and I would say that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like, if that's like your big concern, I think, there's other things to worry about that are more important. That's what I think it was.
Yeah, of course.
So shifting topics a little, so many of the fights in America are basically pay to play. You obviously have put a lot of money into your career as a Muay Thai fighter, going to tournaments, this WAKO tournament, you've been to TBAs before. How do you make that pay to play model work for you?
That's another really good question. So this is a topic that we talk about often amongst our team too, especially when you have like newer fighters that are coming up, is just the not only are you paying in your time, right, and your mental capacities, because you're also doing that with training, and competing and you consider the cost of flights, of tournament registrations, it just goes through the roof. So, and like I said, so I'm a full-time student and a research assistant. So I live on a stipend, so I don't make money at all. So you have to prioritize. So there's a lot of things I don't do. I don't travel really outside of just traveling for fights. So that my life has dwindled. Before I started training, I traveled all the time, and now I just use that money to travel for fights. So other parts of your life that take a huge hit, especially financially. I can't make big purchases. I have a squirrel away fund, so I use that app Albert, and so I set it to take $25 each week, and it just squirrels it away. And it's enough money that it adds up over time, but I don't necessarily feel it when it comes out of my account. And it builds into this account, and I use that as my tournament registration fund. I like to dip into it to pay for strength and conditioning coaching. I use that. But I actively have an account that pulls money out of my normal to try to just use that. And then the WAKO tournament is super expensive. So I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of offset the cost of that, because I have a team training coming up in Chicago that I have to pay for. And then just the cost of going out to Italy to compete is high, and my entire month's salary on this level.
I mean, so in terms of this WAKO trip, how much do you estimate it costing you? Like $2,000, $3,000?
So it's about 1,500 up front. And then that doesn't, so it's a 10-day trip. So if you put in, like, if I'm really accounting for everything, so if I'm accounting for the time I spend training, the food that I'm buying for dieting, obviously, my strength and conditioning, my coaching, my nutrition costs, like working with a nutritionist, it skyrockets. Like, I don't even want to, because then I'm just going to walk away. It's like frightening.
Yeah, so I mean, besides basically budgeting, have you thought of other ways to sort of offset the cost? Or does the gym sort of do, I know some gyms do fundraisers of sorts.
Yeah, probably a fundraiser, but Eight Limbs gives me so much, and that community gives me so much already, that sometimes I hesitate to, like, and I know I should be reaching out and asking for money, but like Charlie, my coach, gives me his time constantly and ask for any financial anything in return. Same with Kate. They both give me so much time and the space, and I have like the ability to utilize the space, and that's an expense that I don't have to worry about. That is like amazing, because I can come and go as I like. I can use the space, use the treadmill, use the weight room, go to classes. Charlie holds pads, and I'm not like, that's another financial thing that I'm not really like. But the community is huge, so I've been toying with this idea of starting maybe a GoFundMe, or sometimes we do like, spaghetti dinners at the gym where low cost to put on, and then people can kind of donate as they please, and it's a way to get everybody together and like community setting.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like there's a lot of different avenues that athletes can explore to sort of raise funds. And, I feel like, at least in my experience, Muay Thai athletes need to push it a little more to do these community things and to make these fundraisers, so you can basically move to the next level where you're paid to play. Another aspect of at least being in America is you have to do ticket sales. It's basically sell to play. You sell tickets, okay, that means you get on the show. How do you work with that? Are you successful at selling tickets yourself? And how does that impact your career?
Yeah. So I feel like I've been so out of these like promotions fights for so long because of COVID, but Eight Limbs is a huge community, so I have that community that like often comes out to fights, which is super amazing. I just think my relationship with other people too, so like friends, other people in the Muay Thai community, helps with ticket sales. I'm really lucky to have somebody like Chris Tran that puts on Warriors Cup in New York, who puts me on a card for my abilities and like the fights that I bring to the show. And Chris has invested in me from the beginning, and I think that has really helped me grow as a fighter and also kind of grow my presence. It was like, I'm gonna put you on this card. Like, we sell tickets as a gym, obviously, often. But I feel like Chris is so genuinely putting people on a card to give them opportunities and also to kind of showcase their talent. And I think that there's one thing that I'm bringing to a card. It's talent. It's good Muay Thai. And the ticket sales, hopefully, the Eight Limbs community and the Muay Thai community tend to fill in those gaps for me.
Something that you said I thought was interesting is, Chris is really giving you opportunities and investing in you. Is there a way for you to return that investment, or what do you think he's looking to get long term out of, basically supporting you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know exactly what he's hoping to get out of it. I do know that being of a high level amateur fighter and being on the card is hopefully enough of a draw to get people to come. Obviously, ticket sales, because Eight Limbs is a big community, so often when an fighter is on a card, we do sell tickets, so that's really helpful. I also just think Chris Tran is cut from a different cloth, and it's like the nicest ever. So it's hard to think. It's just like, in my mind, I have this like narrative of just Chris Tran being an amazing person that wants to invest in, that sees potential and invests in said potential.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A couple of people have commented on the thread or on the video that Chris Tran is an amazing guy. I would agree with that. He brought me chocolate all the way from, New Jersey to Thailand last year. So thumbs up, Chris Tran.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple more things. I don't want to take up too much of your time, though. I know you're busy. So another thing, something that you've sort of touched on several times is the community of Eight Limbs. How do you think that has grown, and why is it such a presence?
Yeah, so you can think of like the very logistics, right? So we are in West Philly, and Philly is a small city, but has a plethora of Muay Thai gyms. Like, I feel like Muay Thai gyms per capita is bonkers in Philly. But they opened in an untapped market in West Philly. When they first opened, their first location was a little closer to the schools, and it was just in a community with the right kind of people around. They were kind of open and welcoming. They had a big space. They offer great things. So they offer amazing coaching, good strength program. They put a lot of themselves kind of into it. And then I think that in where we are in West Philly is like a community within itself that is very invested in building communities. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then as they've moved, so like they've just been able to kind of like keep people for long term and keep providing service that people want and doing it well. So that community keeps building and they keep investing in it. And I think it's self-sustaining at this to an extent.
And because you also said before that you're sort of tapping this community a lot in terms of ticket sales, potential fundraisers, other sort of assets. What role do you play in the community, and how do you help build it?
That's a really good question. So I was a coach for a while. I was teaching what started as women kickboxing programs, but now we call it No Dudes. So like it's open to like non-binary women presenting, or like however you identify, as long as you're not So I was teaching those classes, and it sucks because my ability to coach has kind of taken a back seat because of my studies, because of school and work and my schedule changing constantly. So I think that I taught a class on Sundays that was like a bag class, and I would make these crazy playlists, and it was like a lot of fun. But I would also teach like good Muay Thai too, so it was like learning good technique, but like while having fun, and it became like a big thing and a draw. And I'm there, you know, like the amount of time I spend at the gym is insane. So I'm there more at night. I'm there constantly. So people that are coming through the door, they're seeing me, they're seeing my face. I'm generally like a happy person. I say hi to people as much as I can. Like I make a conscious effort to say hi, to remember like, oh, you just got a cat. How's your cat? Oh, I saw that you graduated. Congratulations. Try to stay invested in the community, to be able to interact with them on like a personal level, because I do care. It's not like I'm doing it to be like a fake person.
You will definitely need to send us your playlists. And definitely Chris Tran, and who just sent a badge as well. Thank you, Chris. Just a couple more things. You mentioned that you work in the world of media yourself. You're finishing up a master's degree in journalism, correct?
Public health, actually.
Public health. But you mentioned before that, you know, these things like nudge and public perception sort of, you know, help push people in certain directions. What do you think that sort of some of the lessons of storytelling have taught you?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So my background is in journalism, and storytelling to me is, I carry it in everything. And I feel like, so as someone in Muay Thai, right? So if you know anything about me, I get injured all the time. I get injured at very inopportune times. I just got injured the day before flying out to TBAs, and wasn't able to compete. But this is just kind of like the saga. And I think that there's one thing that storytelling it does is it helps you reach a wider audience. So like, obviously me getting injured the day before flying out to a tournament that was very big for me, any Muay Thai fighter can see that, or anybody that competes as a competitive athlete can see that and be like, damn, that sucks. Like I can. But when you think about it on a broader scale, maybe somebody that isn't in athletics, doesn't compete, but they're familiar with this story of like, maybe their favorite basketball team, like the star player, got injured before the finals, right? So it helps you reach a wider audience. And then I can utilize the storytelling of being like, my first fight back after an injury, which is, for me, it's like every fight is my first fight back after an injury. But like, so you can kind of hype it up more. It also builds more pressure on you as a fighter to show up and perform. But that storytelling aspect is it reaches a wider audience. Especially when you think of like underdog stories, like, right? We have movies, even people that aren't in Muay Thai, people that aren't athletes or compete. These are all stories that are familiar with them, that they can identify with. And then it makes your story more interesting, because these are themes, these are larger themes that more people can kind of draw from.
Awesome. Well, just wrapping things up, is there anyone you want to thank, or things that you want to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
I mean, this was an awesome conversation. I obviously want to thank you. My coaches at Eight Limbs, all of my teammates at Eight Limbs. I wouldn't even like be a person or at the level that I am without you. Chris Tran, obviously, Warriors Cup. I'm working as like on Combat Corners rep team right now, and also Resilience, always amazing to reach out to. So those are two brands that I would love to kind of shout out and push people towards if possible.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jenine, and we look forward to seeing you on the WAKO team this year. Definitely keep us up to date on social media, or, you know, wherever you can, about, you know, the upcoming group workout and your trip. You know, hopefully you don't get injured, but if you do, make sure you tell us about it as well.
I will, of course.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Please like,